So yeah, thank you everyone for making it to the second session of the day. So we've got our second speaker, which is John Salentine. John is one of the founders of Hammerhat USA, the manufacturer of GearKeepers. The GearKeeper is a retractable gear attachment system, and there are many applications for them, ranging from my favorite scuba diving to fire and rescue. Today John will be particularly talking to us about the use of GearKeepers in the field of communications. So please welcome John.
Thank you. Good morning or good afternoon, everybody. It's my morning, and I'm sorry.
Did you press record?
Yes.
Perfect.
Yes. So I'm sorry I'm not there. I was really looking forward to being there, and Pete's show is always a lot of fun, and the biggest thing is to be able to meet everybody and talk about your businesses and enjoy some good food and drinks, and very sorry I'm not there, but next time I will be. So I'm just doing a brief presentation on our products for communications. So the let's see how this works here. Just a little bit about GearKeeper. We have a 20 plus history of building reliable and long-lasting retractable products. So we started back in the early 90s out of a garage making them for scuba diving. Then we went into a lot of other industries. Part of our key to success is that we made a very strong and reliable product. We have pretty innovative designs, which led to various patents to protect our products. We do what we call application-specific products, and we have a product supply and support chain with Avera through Europe. And I'll expand on all those a little bit more here. Our 20-year history, we're showing some very old products there when we first started in the scuba diving industry. And my partner and I were working at General Motors as engineers. That was one of the car companies here in the US. And we were into scuba diving, and we wanted a better way to hold our gear. So we came up with the concept of using a retractor. And then, of course, we tested one off the shelf, and it didn't last very long. So we spent a couple years trying to make something that would survive salt water and have a very high brake strength. And what our goal from the beginning there was to build a product that was what we called built to last. It wasn't some cheap import product. We were using all good quality components. We put some really innovative engineering into it to make a product that when someone bought, we hope that they had it for a good long time. In the beginning, we were testing retractors like they'd never been tested before by building in very high brake strength to them. So it wasn't something that if you tugged on it, it would just pull apart. A lot of extensive testing for cycle testing and saltwater testing. So it was a unique thing in the market for that time. And at that time, we were just a scuba company. And as time went on, we started looking at, we figured that we really weren't just a scuba company, but we were a retractor manufacturer. And we started looking at things outside the scuba industry. One of the first areas we started looking at is fly fishing and the fire market. And at that time, we figured, boy, if we could make something for scuba diving, high brake strength, and survive salt water, it could be used for anything. And that was partially true. We built it with a lot of good components, but what we found is every industry we went into, the requirements were different. So just because it survived in the salt water, it didn't necessarily would survive for a firefighter or a fly fishing person or a truck driver or whatever. We found out a lot of unique needed to be added to the product. We came out with what we called, and I don't know if you can see it on the screen there, but our QC adapter, which is this adapter right here, that allowed product to be removed from the GearKeeper. And we came up with different sizes of that. And an interesting thing is that we made this, it's hard to probably see there, but there's a pivoting ball in this connector. And that was the secondary part of this design. And what it allowed was that, for scuba divers having this in the water and attached to themselves, it didn't get a lot of hanging and swinging like it would for a firefighter or a backpacker or something like that. So you would end up getting line fatigue here at the joint. So we developed this pivoting joint here that allowed it to survive. In the beginning, we did them all with stainless steel cable, which everybody loved, but stainless steel cable can break down. And we came up with a nylon line that we used, and eventually, over years of development, we came up with what we use now, which is a Spectra nylon on a lot of our products, which is a Spectra core, which is something that's used for fishing with a nylon braid around it, and it provides very good durability. So depending on the application, we still make them with stainless and some things, but we use a lot of Spectra. We've developed all sorts of lanyard pieces for special attachments to, like, the microphone. For fire mics, were a special elastic attachment. So everything that we did was developing, new ways of attaching your gear. So the thing that we always ran into was that there was never one off-the-shelf product that solved everybody's needs. And every application either needed a special mount, like we came up with Molly mounts for our military, special attachments that used in a truck, shock absorbing capability. Even though we built a retractor for scuba, every industry that we went to had very specific needs. And out of that came very specific components to our product line. The areas that, we do a lot of different things, but the areas I'm going to touch on is Pete asked me to kind of focus on products that are adapted for the communication world. So I'm going to review a little bit some of our CB products, lapel mic products, handheld radios, and phones. I'm just going to jump to another screen here. CB products, which is an area that really we started working with Avera a long time ago when we got into the trucking industry. Our CB products, which you probably have seen, is we do things for holding the microphone in a truck or in a vehicle. And started out with one specific product, and then we added chrome. Probably not big in Europe is our Stars and Stripes, but it was a patriotic product here. We did a heavier duty model, did the same application, but gave a little more retraction force, gave a lock if someone wanted to lock it in an extended position. And all of the products came with a way of mounting it in a truck to help you put a D-ring, a adjustable lanyard, and this is one of those things that we don't just throw a product out there and it works. This lanyard developed over a 15-year period. It used to be an elastic lanyard that went over the mic button. Then, every once in a while, people would, wear out the elastic, so we came up with a cord and an adjustment product where this fits over the microphone, and you have a fairly long lanyard, but in a lot of trucks, they like to hang it low. But it's also adjustable, that it can be shortened up, so you can have something that they can easily make so it's a shorter hanging length. a product that Pete has been waiting for a couple years since we showed it at the last Avera show, and we put it on hold because of the pandemic, but we're just finally starting to manufacture it, is a aluminum case series. And we'll finally be able to supply Avera with that in the fourth quarter of this year and get him pricing. But it's a product that uses aluminum case. It's kind of has that wow factor. It looks nice, it feels smooth, but it's expensive. It's not a product that's going to replace all of our current products, but we're adding it for a couple of unique features. And so that's something to watch for here in the fourth quarter. Lapel mics is, actually we started with this before we even started in the CB market. Is, we were in the scuba, we were doing things for flashlights, and we went to a firefighter and said, hey, how would these work for your flashlights? You guys carry the same ones. And he said, well, I have a problem with my lapel mic. And it's a situation where they have this on their coat, and they're wearing all their, firefighting garb. And what happens is they have to sometimes pull it by their mouth, get it by their ear. And in the old days, before they used a GearKeeper, it would fall on the ground. It was always a problem. So we had adapted a retractor to use for the microphone. Later in life, we found out that it became quite a safety feature because with current, with the development of communications and noise canceling communications, they found out that the microphone had to be 1 to 2 inches from your mouth. In loud environments, it had to be by your ear. So initially when we sold this, the firefighter was buying it just because it was a real inconvenience that this thing was always hanging down by the ground. Later on, with the development of noise canceling communications, there was actually issues where people were missing communications because they weren't getting that microphone by their mouth. And if they had it attached over here or on their chest, they were trying to do something like this. So there's one point where a mayday call was missed for a firefighter in need, and eventually it was picked up by someone else coming to the scene, but it became a big deal for Motorola, and Motorola did a lot of investigation into it, and they finally said, you need to use a mic keeper. It allows you to keep that microphone here, but you can get it by your mouth, by your ear. So again, it was, a unique product. Unfortunately, I'm showing the wrong one here. It's not a belt clip version. It's a threaded stud that goes through the tab on a mic tab on a turnout. So it's a pin that goes through the material and screws into the back of the unit. So again, that goes to our application-specific designs in that, we make a mic keeper for the fire market. We make one for law enforcement that uses a clip that goes onto their epaulette of their shirt. We make industrial versions that either are on a snap clip or a belt clip, or we have a newer one that is a alligator clip. And the purpose of this is that for a industrial person wearing a high-vis vest, they can easily clip it on their vest and move it from one thing to another. So everything we end up doing is not just putting a retractor on the market and saying, well, you can use this for everything. I mean, people love the idea that, if you could just sell one product and it worked for, 150 applications would be great. But what we find is it's all about the right product for the job. So every one of these things has been a specific retractor, a specific retraction force, a attachment that works specifically for the lapel mic. It makes it easy for a firefighter to use. And so, as I'm going through some of these products, we don't have a flyer that has all of our communications products. We basically market to a specific market, like the fire industry or the trucking or the law enforcement. So I put some flyers together for this show that kind of put everything together, but it's not totally professionally done, so I apologize for that. For the fire market, we just tried an aluminum one that had the wow factor again to it. So this is a product that'll be available to Avera in the fourth quarter. Rather expensive, but you know, when people are buying a tool for their job, sometimes they like something that's a little extra special. Radio communications. You know, this is we have a very, very good distribution and market for the CB mics, for the fire mics and law enforcement mics, for the radio communications and things. It tends to be very specific, and we end up coming up with a lot of different varieties of products, and it doesn't come from us sitting around our office going, hey, what can we do here? It's usually we're at a trade show like Avera might have, and a customer comes up and says, oh, I'm trying to hook up a radio for a rescue person or a radio for a industrial person. And there's you know, three aspects that come into this. One is always the challenge of how do you hook to a radio or some of these devices that, you know, the companies like Motorola and things and Uniden, maybe they didn't think of a way of attaching to it. So we come up with products that have multiple attachments so that, you know, might make the package a little more expensive, but when someone buys something for a small radio or a large radio, they have the correct attachments that allow them to hook to it. The second aspect is how do we attach this to ourselves? And a lot of our varieties are coming up with, you know, belt clips and snap clips and threaded stud mounts. One thing that we're showing here is an industrial product that we call our vest integration. And I'm just going to grab a little prop here. This is, you know, a safety vest that you see very often with construction workers and everything, and it's become a requirement for construction people to have these on any job site. And as people start getting into working at heights or worrying about dropping expensive equipment, there's a lot of legislation that says you need to attach your equipment to yourself. And so, you know, if you picture a worker that has a tool belt and all this stuff on them, it's where do I attach things? So we started coming up with products for the safety vest that allows the safety vest to be a platform for them. So I don't know if you can see this very well, but this is a breast pocket on a safety vest. And typically people will put their cell phone in it or a radio. Well, this cell phone is attached to a GearKeeper. There is a GearKeeper mounted down in this pocket with a threaded stud mount that allows you to attach a radio or a phone or something like that. So when you look at the different applications out there, it's very easy to sell a fire mic keeper or a CB mic keeper. Those are becoming very well known. When you get into radios, there's a lot of different ways people are using it. There's a lot of ways that a lot of different radios, small and large. And so it becomes one of those things that, unfortunately, it's not maybe a product that you're throwing on the shelf, but it's a product that if your customer comes to you and says, I need this, a lot of times we might already have it. And that's the point where you would talk to Avera and say, here's my application. My customer is a construction worker. He wants to put a radio attached to him. And Avera can point you to different applications. So there's a lot of time-specific products put out there for the applications. We also do something that's we came up with this actually for the outdoor world. We call it a Deluxe instrument tether. It's a product that can be used for a variety of instruments, and in the hunting world it's used for a rangefinder, but we also use it a lot in the fishing and outdoor world for radios. And and it's a product that has multiple ways of attaching to the item, to the radio. It has multiple ways of attaching to the person: snap clip, threaded stud, a Velcro strap. So in some cases, we have a product that allows a wide range of applications. Then lastly here, if we get into phones, phone keeper market is again another unique market that has changed over the years. Initially we came up with a retractor to attach a phone to a belt, and that was back in the days. And if you're old like me and Pete, you'll remember people wearing phones on their belts, and a lot of times they would pop off the belt and you lose them. So this was a way of attaching a secondary tether to your belt. There's not people doing that much anymore. Now the days are the smartphones. And so let's see here. Sorry, my screen changed. We came up with something more dedicated for a smartphone. And this is something that could hook into a pocket. You're not, hanging the cell phone from a retractor like you would, when we talk about the CB mic. This is hanging, you're pulling it out, you're letting it go. When you talk about a cell phone, no one wants to walk around with this hanging from them. So it's stored in a pocket. Could be a pocket of a safety vest, could be a pocket of a ski jacket, could be someone in the outdoors. And it's a very low force so that I can talk on it and work on it. But, if I drop it, it's not pulling it back into the pocket. It's keeping you from dropping it in the lake or down an elevator shaft or whatever. So we do those kind of products. The vest integration one is just slightly different because of the tool industry has specific testing requirements. But it's basically the same type of unit and same type of concept. With that is that, like we said, we do a lot of application-specific designs, but there's always so many things out there in the market that, we might have the perfect solution for your customer, or your customer might have a very unique application that we haven't thought of. And since we do so many products, chances are there's something out there already that could be used for a different item, or it could be easily configured. So anytime you have an application, it's always good to talk to Avera, let them know what you're trying to do, because chances are we've already built something for it, or with our modular designs, it's possible that we can build something for it quite easily. So the last part of our growth and success is that we've grown our products and our brand in the industry by people knowing that it's a very solid product. It doesn't fall apart, and it lasts. And it's not just a cheap Chinese import product, but it is either a quality product that's going to last, or it's been specifically designed for the application, so you get the right tool to do the job. But that has all been an easy product or an easy process for us in the U.S. But in Europe, we're a long ways away. We're on a different time zone. Shipping to Europe is expensive. So the other part to our success has been our product supply and support with Avera. And we started with Avera, I don't know how many years ago, Pete. I can't remember things anymore, but It started in the CB industry, and Pete had a very good distribution for the electronics market, and we had great success. And he liked the product, and he said, I'd like to sell more of these in different markets. So we've, over time, we've been creating what I like to refer to as the GearKeeper warehouse in Europe, and that's really Avera. And what it has allowed us to do as a small company is to look like we're a big company with our distribution all over the world. And Pete stocks all the products. He has monthly or bi-monthly shipments coming from the U.S. So it allows customers like yourself to get product easily within days instead of within weeks, without dealing with the import. And then secondly, you have customer service in your time zone where you can actually call someone up and get questions answered instead of sending out an email and waiting 12 hours to get a response back from it. Also, over the years, Pete has become, and his staff have become experts with their knowledge of the product, with their support, with warranty. We don't see a product falling apart. Usually it gets worn out. But if there is a problem, we stand behind it. In many cases, things like studs and lanyards and QC attachments can have replacement parts. It's very, very rare, but it's a possibility. And our partnership with Avera has allowed easy access to our products, and we look forward to continuing that. So that's my spiel for communications. I know it's not as nice or pleasant as if I was there with you, and I'm sorry I'm not going to be able to partake in the festivities tonight, but we'll look forward to doing that in a couple years. And so with that, I'll turn it back over to Avera and his crew and to see if you have any questions I can answer.
Okay, thank you so much, John.